І ми починаємо.
Да, добре, бо я вже почав за вас хвилюватися, думаю.
February, the Media Center Ukraine Forum continues its work. I'm Svetlana Chepurenko. We are now talking about defense of Ukrainian skies. Yurii Ihnat, the speaker for the Air Force of Ukraine, is with us. Are you with us, Mr. Ihnat? I am sorry, we have some technical difficulties, but we will resume our briefing within several minutes.
Пане Юрію, чи ви нас чуєте?
Yes, I am with you. And we now see you as well. Sorry for technical difficulties. So Yurii Ihnat, the speaker for the command of Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. It has been more than once that our Air Force, after the large-scale enemy attacks, have pointed out that there's the work of the radio-electronic fire combat is very important. Well, this is not new. It has been here all the time. However, you're right in saying that we are increasing the number because Ukraine has increased the production of these systems, and they are working very well when protecting some of the objects. They quench the navigation of enemy missiles and drones, and you also know how the radio-electronic combat helps the so-called trenches radio-electronic devices that help to quench the FPV drones, which are there in thousands. So we are grateful to our state enterprises that have increased the number of their product as well as civilian enterprises, but there's also delivery from our foreign partners, and the radio-electronic fight has become a part of our anti-aircraft defense today the British intelligence community voiced their disturbance at the use of by Russians of Zircon missile, and they have doubts, Americans as well, whether Patriot system are able to shoot those Zircon missiles down. How many can the enemy launch? Well, if there were such an information, you would have probably read this in Telegram or media, so we cannot talk about more than one case of this use. And by the way, how can we really distinguish among the ballistic missiles? You know, this is the missile which goes up and then falls down. There's no such thing, or very complicated thing to understand the trajectory of ballistic rockets, missiles. I can only a specialist who saw the debris and who analyzed them can really corroborate and confirm that this was Zircon. And by the way, this is the weaponry that Russia has just introduced in the battlefield. Actually, no one of us has seen this Zircon, but of course there are specialists, the Kyiv Institute for Forensics, and they can tell you precisely what this was, and they are now studying the debris. And only a specialist can tell you whether this was Iskander or Khat 126, and ballistics are ballistics. Kinzhal or Zircon or Iskander, they fly on a special trajectory, and Patriot can really shoot them down. But in this case, the Patriot missile should hit the missile which moves at 3,600 kilometers per hour. And this applies to Kinzhal as well, and they can develop this kit to up to 10,000 kilometers per hour, and they fly at the higher layers of atmosphere, and only when they reach the target, they decrease their speed to 3,800 kilometers per hour. The winter is coming to an end. Whether the enemy uses more drones or more missiles when attacking Ukraine, well, you can really monitor this when you take our morning communiques. There's a generalization about drones and all other stuff. We had several massive attacks in late January, late December and in January, where they used quite a lot of missiles. However, the enemy does not have as many missiles as drones. They use many drones every day, 20 to 30 Shaheds, and 90 Shaheds they used on the New Year's night. So, of course, drones are more numerous. We are talking about this. They are increasing the production of drones on their territory. Drones are cheaper to produce, and although their carrying load is much lesser than that of missiles, they still pose the threat to all the territory of Ukraine, and not only Shaheds, but also Lancet. They are now assembling thousands of drones. So you have to take this into consideration and increase the number of means of radio electronic combat, and also the missiles that can shoot down drones. What is the situation with our missiles? Do we have enough of them for air defense? Well, I not just cannot, but only should not give a definite answer to this. This is not a public information about how many we have. But of course, the deficit will always be there. With the attack that Russia is making, the massiveness of the attacks means that we have to use quite a lot of our means, using cruise missiles and also ballistic Patriot missiles. We are keeping close calculation on this. We also communicate with our Western partners who work with us with direct contact with Ukrainian officers within the framework of Ramstein, which works every day. There are groups of people from different countries who work 24/7. They're looking for necessary solutions in order to help Ukraine. And of course, we regularly inform the media in order to communicate to the society. So we are calculating the need for any means which are being gradually provided to Ukraine within this or that package of help. You see that we, for instance, get howitzers and shells, and they always say some additional beans for air defense, but not about numbers. What about the complexes of the air defense? Have Ukraine received them as our partners promised? Yes, we have both. In some cases we have delays, in some cases we have delivery prior to the schedule, but we cannot talk about this openly. You know that the leaders in the delivery of anti-aircraft systems is Germany. They have to give us this year 4 batteries, which will be a serious component of our air defense. Same with Patriots, same with Gepards. I can tell you about Norwegian NASAMS. The United States are producing missiles for this complex. And you should not forget about the fact that our Western partners continue to help us with missiles to the Russian, Soviet systems that we have. And this is a very useful thing because we ourselves do not produce missiles for these systems, and we can only use the ones that are in the depots of our partners. What about the training of our pilots and technical groups for F-16? And are there among pilots and technical groups women? Yeah, everyone is interested in whether there are women. Well, the women are everywhere, but I might tell you that there are no women among pilots who are being trained for F-16s. I must tell you that if there were some, then this would be a generally known fact. Not so far, but we do hope that there will be women among F-16 pilots, as this happens in the USA and Israel. And we in the armed forces pay huge attention to the gender issue. And in our Kharkiv University of Air Force, there's quite a lot of women who are on a par with men, doing performing their duties, as well as military engineers in brigades who are involved in servicing combat jets. Everything will be there. The question is in getting those F-16s as soon as possible. And then the Kharkiv Institute will teach young people, both men and women, in different places. At the moment, they are studying in different places in our country because it is impossible to organize training process in Kharkiv. They're being constantly attacked. However, we are switching to the Western style anti-aircraft, anti-air defense. And of course, it is very logical that our air defense people will be studying in Western countries. So everyone who wants to become a professional military person in the future, welcome to the Kharkiv Institute. Any questions from the journalists? I have a question whether Artem Moskovenko, Ukrinform, have new models of drones appeared in Russia which they use to attack the territory of Ukraine? Well, this is a very broad question. You should specify. We saw some photos with drones of reactive engines, then some models which were made in garages. We saw some modernization of Shahids and serious modernization with Landsats. This increases their range, and Russia is also boasting about the artificial intelligence. And Putin was talking about this, probably not understanding himself what he's talking about, but they did create a serious picture for our and Western audience as well as for their own. Yes, they are continuing to produce, they will increase the production, and of course war is the time when there's a serious development of military technologies, military industry. As you see, the West is making great strides, and the laser equipment develops seriously, as well as artificial intelligence, and the Russians will do this, and the West should decrease their opportunity, the Russians' opportunity to get some advanced equipment. And we shall look at what Ukraine should do in order to provide for a technological leap in Ukraine, probably with the help of Western technologies, which will be accessible for us but not for Russia, and to respond to Russia adequately. And you see our strike drones that are constantly putting something on fire in Russia. Thank you very much. We talked to Yurii Ihnat, who is the speaker for the Command of Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. We will continue our work tomorrow. Thank you, and see our spotlights.